Hello, I'm back. Hey, welcome back. Today I'm gonna talk about how to travel around in India. I'm not gonna cover long distance traveling because I feel like that's a whole other topic in itself. So this is gonna be more about how do you get around within a certain city or a certain place when you're in India. Because I live in Delhi, the things that I'm gonna mention might be a little specific to New Delhi, but you can find these modes of transportations in most places, so here we go. The first mode of transportation is obviously walking. It's your own two legs. I don't know that I would advise much walking in India. That's something which was a big change for me. But when I lived in Paris, I used to walk a lot. I used to walk everywhere, essentially. If I could walk and not take a metro or a bus, I would definitely walk. But since I've moved to Delhi, walking has not been much of an option, except if I'm just going around the corner. But to go to most places, I end up having to take some other form of transportation because the streets are not really made for walking. You do see people walking in parks or walking within neighborhoods for exercising purposes, but otherwise you don't really walk to places. The second mode of transportation is cycling. I mean, it's the second one I could think about. Now cycling, once again, I would not recommend in India unless you're in a place which is very laid back and where you can cycle comfortably, because the traffic here is pretty intense and I would not recommend cycling, to be honest. But you will see people cycling. That being said, a few Indian cities have started adopting sort of a bike sharing system like you will find in Paris or in London. When I went to Mysore a few months back, I saw a bike sharing system called Trin. I don't know how it's called. And I haven't tried it out myself, but I found a video where some people explain how you can sign up and how you can use it. So I will link that video in the description. So check it out, see if it's for you. When it comes to Delhi, I would not recommend cycling here, unless you're very adventurous. So I made a video about modes of transportation in India. So I wanted to know, what modes of transportation do you use mostly?
I have a scooty at my home.
Oh dude! I forgot to speak about the scooties!
How can you forget about the scooty?
Oh no! Oh no.
It is the mostly used vehicle in the India. Like girls, by boys.
And they're everywhere. I don't know how I forgot. Look! So many! Oh, it's all scooties.
Yay!
Look at this.
You can see there is a lot of scooties on the road.
The third mode of transportation is buses. Now, I'm not talking about long distance buses which take you from one city to another. Those are a whole different story, but buses within cities. There are a lot of buses in New Delhi. I think there are over 800 different routes for buses, so you definitely see buses a lot on the street. I think you could essentially go anywhere within the city with a bus. Buses are also a cheaper option. I think tickets start at around 5 rupees and go up to maybe 15-20 rupees for non-AC buses, and you also have AC buses, and I think the tickets are a bit more expensive. Every bus comes around every 15 minutes, but because of traffic it's very unreliable. And now, of course, traffic could be an issue even if you're in a cab or a rickshaw. But the difference with buses is that in a bus you're not sure to get a seat. It's a little less comfortable, it's way more crowded. So I personally don't use buses a lot to commute in New Delhi. But I can't speak about buses in other cities. So let me know, if you live in a different city in India, let me know what you think of the buses in your city. Do you take them? Are they nice? Are they reliable? Do you also get stuck in traffic? And generally, how do you commute to work? How do you get around in your city? Do you take a bus? Do you take a rickshaw? Do you take the metro? Is there a metro in your city? Let me know in the comments. The fourth mode of transportation, and one which I think you would know about or you would think about when you think of India, is rickshaws. In some countries, they're also called tuk-tuks. I think in India, they're just called rickshaws. Now, what's interesting and what I didn't know before moving to Delhi was that rickshaws come in different shapes and sizes. Again, not not really shapes and sizes, but they come in different models. Let me explain. When you say rickshaw, it can mean very different things. First of all, you have the pull rickshaws. Those are rickshaws where the driver will just cycle basically and pull you places in a way. The second type of rickshaw is the electric rickshaw or the battery rickshaw. It's a rickshaw which can be shared between people, and you don't necessarily have to come as a group. For these, you usually pay a little less, simply because there are more people on the rickshaw. You can fit up to 4 or 5 people. And the third type of rickshaw is the auto rickshaw. I think that's the one that you'll all have in mind when you think of a rickshaw in India. It's those very famous ones that look like... Actually, I don't know what they look like. They just look like rickshaws, but it's the one that you kind of see everywhere when you hear about rickshaws and tuk-tuks in India. Auto rickshaws will usually cost a little bit more because they're also faster and they take you places faster. So as well, you'll be on your own as opposed to a battery rickshaw. What's interesting to note is that certain neighborhoods in Delhi only have auto rickshaws and they don't have the pull or electric rickshaws. If you don't know how much you should be paying for your auto rickshaw, a good way to find out is to open up an app like Uber, for instance, and to check how much they would charge for the same ride. Apps like Uber in India even have a rickshaw option, meaning you can technically order an auto rickshaw on Uber. I don't usually because they're very easy to find on the street, but what's useful is that way you get sort of an idea of how much you would be paying if you book through Uber, and then you can kind of bargain your way through to that price. My card was full. I had to restart filming from here, so I'm sorry, the angle is probably gonna change a little bit. Okay, let's just jump to mode of transportation number 5, which is the metro. Once again, I can't speak for metros in different cities. However, I will tell you that New Delhi has a wonderful metro system. It's great. It covers most of the city. It's very affordable. It's very easy to use. It's just wonderful. If you come to New Delhi and you want to go places and you're looking for something that's a bit cheaper, you know, rather than taking cabs everywhere, go for a metro pass. The metro is pretty affordable. The only thing is they don't have monthly passes. They only have rechargeable cards or tokens that you can use for a single journey. Another tip about the Delhi Metro is that if you are a solo female traveler, the first compartment of every metro is reserved for women only. What's good about that is that compartment is always less crowded, and during rush hour it can avoid some inconveniences of being in crowded compartments. So, and comfort aside, I think that as women we all know the kind of incidents that can take place in metros during rush hour when everyone is a bit squished together, and it's just nice to know that you have that option, I think. So finally, the final mode of transportation which I'll be talking about in this video is cabs. If you come from Delhi airport, you'll find a lot of different cab companies waiting to take you into town, but if you're traveling in Delhi on the daily, I think the main 2 options would be Uber and Ola. Ola is also a ride-sharing company. I think it's Uber's biggest competitor in India, and it's an Indian company. What's convenient about Uber and Ola obviously is that they both have apps that you can use on your phone. You can book through your phone. You can use Google Maps to pin your pickup location and your drop location. Is it Google Maps? But I don't know, but you can use Maps to pin your drop location and your pickup location. You can see where your driver is, you can get in touch with them, so it's just very convenient. The one thing about these apps in Delhi, however, and I think that may apply to a lot of places in North India, but do correct me if I'm wrong, is that a lot of drivers don't speak English, or they might speak very basic English. I feel like a lot of drivers just don't expect to see foreigners booking a ride through the app, because every time I step into a cab, the driver is a little surprised. And when I think about it, I find it surprising that they are surprised to see me, because my name really doesn't sound like an Indian name, and I don't think Um, you know, I don't think Perrine sounds Indian at all, so if you come to Delhi, I think that a lot of drivers don't speak English. However, you can get by with a few simple Hindi words. So I'm going to teach you a few simple words which you can use if you're using Uber or Ola in India and you need to get in touch with your driver, or you're getting in the cab and you want to communicate with them. Here are a few sentences you can use. Simple sentence. Main, me. Main, name of the location. Main hu, meaning I am at this location. Name of the drop-off location. Jana, which means I am in this location, I am going to this location. So if I give you an example, let's say you are in, where could you be? Let's say you are in Saket and you are going to CP. You would say, मैं Saket में हूँ, CP जाना. Simple, no? Another thing is if the driver asks you something and you don't understand the sentence, but within the sentence you hear online and cash. That means that the driver wants to know whether you are paying online or in cash. And that is because in India, Uber gives you the option to pay in cash. So when you select your method of payment, you can pay by card, or whatever card is preset to your Uber app back at home, or you can also choose to pay in cash. If you want to ask your driver to close the windows, turn off the AC, turn off the music, you'll just tell them, and this is where Hindi is wonderful, is that essentially if you pronounce most English words with an Indian accent, then people will understand. And I didn't make this up. That's what my Hindi teachers in college taught me, is that if you pronounce English words with an Indian accent, you'll get by. Like, seriously. So let me give you an example. You're asking your driver to close the windows. You will say, please, windows, close. Karo. Karo means to do. It's not the most polite form you could use. You could also use kijiye, but karo is usually fine. I don't think that a driver would get offended if you used karo with them, especially if you're trying to speak Hindi and you know they can obviously tell that you're a foreigner and it's not your native language. And now you may have picked up on the fact that in English you wouldn't close the music or you wouldn't close the AC, but in Hindi I have found that it works, or at least in my very basic survival Hindi I have found that it works. So you can also say, please music close karo, please AC close karo. Or if you want them to turn it on, you can just try to say, please AC open karo. Oh, or you can also say, please AC on karo, like turn it on, or like make it on. I think they'll get the gist of it, don't worry too much. Finally, if you're completely lost in conversation, you had no idea what's going on, you can always use that sentence. Hindi nahi aati hai, which means I don't understand Hindi. So then it'll be clear, and then hopefully the guy speaks a little bit of English and you can get by. That's all for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know. Drop a comment down below, and please let me know what you want to hear about in the next video. Bye.
Like karo, share karo, subscribe karo, comment karo, like karo, share karo, comment karo.